Anything else?
Nope, there it goes.
Okay, whatever.
It was just that. Audio drivers were funky. All right. And we're on.
Okay, we're live now.
Yeah, we are live.
Great. Welcome to Respawn Lounge, everybody. And this is actually going to be the last episode of this season, by which we mean we're going to be taking a short, I think a month-long break after this.
Yeah.
Yeah, about there.
Cool. So, this episode, we are just going to kind of relax. We got finals coming up, so we're going to have a nice little talk about our favorite games. So, joining me today are, to my left,
Riva.
and
Also Casey.
And
Because
Casey.
We have to make that joke every time.
Oh,
no, it's
right.
Daniel.
Yeah, my name is Casey, but Casey calls me Riva.
Yeah. Well, there was that one time I impersonated Dan on Facebook for 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
So, strictly, I'm you.
Do you want to explain that story real quick?
Yeah, why not? We don't have any professionalism here. So there was one day where I wanted to play a prank on somebody on Facebook, so I changed my name to Daniel Kemper and also my profile picture to his, but I didn't know that if you do that, you can't change it back for 3 months.
Yeah.
So I just followed through with that joke for 3 straight months. And everyone was like, why don't you just change your picture so we at least know which one it is? And I was like, no, that's then I lose the integrity of the joke. So I just stuck it out.
Yeah. And I just didn't change my Facebook profile picture for 3 months, so it just there was just 2 Daniel Kempers with the same profile picture.
Yep. I still have messages from people who just thought I was you.
Yeah. That was really funny.
Okay, so what we're going to do for this format is we're going to just kind of take turns, like one of us will throw a game out there that's one of our favorites, which we've all come in with lists of. So we'll just take turns doing that until we're tired of talking. We're going to try to roughly match the length of all our other episodes. We may go over or under, probably over, I would imagine, because we don't. There's not really a limit. Like I could probably talk about 100 games tonight and like not lose my breath or anything. Mm-hmm. So, I guess we will start with Dan.
So actually, I'm going to start with one of my favorite games. One of the games that like really got me into PC gaming, which was Garry's Mod.
Really? That's interesting because that's like arguably not a game.
Yeah, right. But like joining like weird different communities on like just searching around like playing weird sorts of game types, going to like all sorts of weird mod sites and like finding like that gun from that game you like and the like the model of some guy that's rigged really poorly and he just evaporates once he gets shot, and just doing all sorts of like crazy goofy stuff. I think that was like one of the experiences like that really just like led me to get into PC gaming and like made me stay there. I have hundreds and hundreds of hours in Garry's Mod.
I don't think we've ever talked about Garry's Mod before. You and I.
Yeah, I mean, like we've mentioned that we both have played Garry's Mod, but we never talked about like our experiences with it. I don't think.
Yeah, that's because I've never installed it.
Really?
Yeah, someone bought it for me as a Christmas gift to play like Prop Hunt with them, and then I just like couldn't be bothered to like go through this short process because it's I don't know I hate my friends, I guess.
Okay. Garry's Mod's not the huge scene that it used to be, but there's still like a lot of interesting stuff on there. I mean, it's not as interesting now because like, there's some version in a much more professional version or in a much more professional way of like literally everything that was made in Garry's Mod, pretty much.
Well, I mean, Gmod, other than that, is just like it's like a historical landmark for like open software gaming. Because that was, there are still like music videos and joke videos about it, or using Garry's Mod. It was a lot of people's introductions to modding and whatnot because it was so simple and user friendly.
Yeah. Like I still had to like, like drag files into like a folder and like unpack them and all that. But like people were just very, very kind and understanding and like had like step-by-step guides for, people who don't know anything about computers because like I was still a child at this point.
Right.
How to install mods and how to make all this stuff work.
And I think it would be really impressionable if you got into Garry's Mod like at a really young age.
Yes.
I can see how that would tip somebody over from console versus PC gaming into their youth.
Yeah, I mean, because like I had never experienced anything like that up until that point.
Because the closest that exists, like as a parallel in console gaming, is like Halo Forge,
Yeah,
and there's not really anything. I mean, there are RPG Maker games on like PS2, but they're
yeah,
not great.
yeah.
And how do you share content with console gaming before, like, when memory cards were still the norm?
Like there was no way I could just think like, what if I could play the same game but with this different gun, and then just like look it up and find it, and then just have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gmod. I've got to play it one day. Like the gamer in me won't let me not play it.
Yeah.
Which I guess what I mean by play it is vague.
Yeah, I mean, just like mess around in it a little bit.
Install it.
Yeah. get to know what that default map looks like.
Yeah, I mean, just play with the default assets and build a pyramid out of them or something.
It's fun stuff.
Okay, Riva?
So my favorite game of, I guess, like, all time is The Sims 2, which I usually get a little bit of shit for.
Hey, it's a good game.
It's, it was kind of like what you were saying with Gary's Mod, where, like, The Sims 2 is what really got me into, like, playing on PC and everything. Like, when I was younger, my family had, like, we had an NES and a SNES and everything, because we were poor and couldn't afford a GameCube or Nintendo 64 or anything until much later. So, like, playing on the computer was, like, the closest I could get to playing a lot of games that other people were also playing. But I've been playing The Sims 2 for at least 10 years at this point. Like, I still put in a lot of time into it. I was talking earlier about how we have a friend who has, like, I think 2,000 hours or more in Dota 2.
Yeah.
And I easily have 2,000 hours in The Sims 2 in the past, like, year and a half. It's a really good thing that they don't, like, track the stats for that, because it'd be very depressing. But it's like one of the very few games that I know inside and out. Like, I usually don't crack games open because it's not really, like, my thing. I'm not super into modding or anything like that, but I've broken The Sims 2 open quite a few times, which I don't feel bad about saying out loud now that EA has labeled it abandonware, which is also really great because you can now get it for free. So it's really interesting. 2 years ago, when there was a huge resurgence of Sims 2 players and the community, like, jolted alive again because EA just said, we're not supporting this anymore, here you go. And they released it on Origins for free. Like, all of the expansion packs, which is also really nice because I had the majority of them when I played The Sims 2 a lot when I was, like, in middle school and everything. But I didn't have enough money to get everything for it because it is easily a $300 game.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot of expansion packs, a lot of stuff packs, and everything.
And they're all a lot of money.
Yeah.
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 I feel like they're worth it though, because they do each add so much to the game that, like, yeah, it's a little pricey, $30 for, like, DLC or whatever, but it also adds a ton to the game that makes it worth the $30.
Well, and a lot of people who are into The Sims, just like the audience that it's trying to capture, are, like, not the type who buy a lot of video games. So it wouldn't be that surprising if they bought The Sims and then the expansions, and that's the only game they bought for, like, 3 years or something.
Yeah. And I've played The Sims 3 a little bit, and I've gotten sort of into The Sims 4 as well. But The Sims 2 has always kind of been the one I've fallen back on. And it's also, like, a touching thing because, like, my dad and I played The Sims 1 when I was younger, before he passed away and everything. We were starting to get into The Sims 2 when he met his untimely end, I suppose. Yeah. But yeah, it's one of the few games that I know inside and out, and I'm still very active in the community and everything. I've made a lot of really good friends because of The Sims, and it sounds so dorky to say, like, The Sims 2 is one of my favorite games ever, but it's, like, my favorite game ever. Yeah, my I didn't even know that, like, mods and custom, like, in the Sims community, it's CC, it's custom content, not, like, mods or anything. Like, that term's obviously gaining more traction in the community, but I called everything CC for the longest time, and it would confuse the fuck out of everybody I knew.
Yeah.
Just because of like The Sims, but it also was the game that got me into like 3D modeling and everything because I would try to make stuff for it. And now that I'm like in an actual modeling class, it's a lot easier to do that. But
Yeah.
I've been like attempting modeling on and off for years because of The Sims and all that stuff. So it's a really important game to me, and I love it a lot. And I'm probably gonna play some more once school's done with. But
Okay, so I guess I'll move on to talking about our picture that we're using for this. And one of my favorite games is Shovel Knight. So Shovel Knight was released in 2014 by Yacht Club Studios as their first game, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
It was backed by Kickstarter, and it's a nice homage to old NES style like DuckTales and Castlevania 2 and Zelda 2, Adventure of Link. It's a action platformer where you play as the eponymous Shovel Knight, whose sole power, roughly speaking, is his shovel, which he uses to, shoot laser beams and bounce and pogo stick on enemies and dig up treasure. And most of his powers, he gets relics to use like magic spells and stuff, but most of his powers are from his shovel. And the entire game is tailored for you to be able to play it using strictly the shovel. So it's been like really hailed as like a godsend of game design since it's been released. Like I've never seen a single like snide against this game. It's really, really impressively built. A lot of people really love it. It's been released on pretty close to every modern platform at this point. I originally bought it on 3DS, but I'm planning to buy it on Steam when the upcoming update, the Spectre of Shadows, I think it's called, whenever that comes out.
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited for because Plague of Shadows was extremely good.
Yeah, Spectre Knight looks awesome from the trailers they released.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Also, did Yacht Club make something for Gunvolt? Because I was actually I wanted to check on that after you mentioned that. I don't think they made the game, but it looks like they published some DLC pack or something for Gunvolt called Striker Pack.
I don't know anything about that actually.
Mm.
Let me see. No, that's not anything they've developed, but yeah, I see that in their Inti Creates made the Azure Striker Gunvolt series.
Yeah.
And it looks like they published it, which is interesting. I guess they've got that that big Kickstarter money just floating around, I'm sure.
Shovel Knight also sold pretty well.
Yeah, it's still selling crazy well. And it even so recently as last year, I believe, when they released it on the modern consoles, on Xbox, they added the Battletoads as fightable characters.
Oh, yeah.
And on PlayStation 4, they added Kratos from God of War,
Uh-huh.
which is really interesting. A lot of the game is very, homage to the people who backed it. There's an entire area of the game where they have, photographs of people who donated a certain amount of money to the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And there are 3 characters you fight who are people who donated certain incentives, and they told them how to design their characters and so forth.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. And the game itself, all the enemies you fight, or all the opposing knights, the Order of No Quarter, all have names and special abilities and powers and stuff, and they all have unique personalities, and they're all really interesting and funny.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of references to old video games, which when in Assassin's Creed, when they're like, "It's a me, Mario," I was just like, yeah, you're so fucking clever.
I love that joke. I think it's great.
It just felt really trite to me. I was just like, oh, yeah, you sure do know what Mario is. But there's something very very profound about the way Shovel Knight handles it, because it's not just a homage and name dropping and recognizing that, but also it understands the design philosophies of past games and knows how to build upon them for a modern audience. And I really respect that about the game. And we could do a whole episode on Shovel Knight, but we better move on.
Okay.
So Dan, it's your turn.
All right, let me pull up my list again. So one of my other favorite games is Another World.
Mm.
I think it's the first game that I ever played in just one sitting.
It's not that long, but I
No,
mean, yeah.
I mean, it's not that long. But I was also really bad at it.
Yeah, it is kind of like an action interpretation of a point-and-click adventure game, so being hard does, fall in line with that.
Yeah. So it took me maybe 4 or 5 hours or something like that.
Mhm.
Still, not really that long.
I've seen a playthrough of it, and I'm still, intimidated by that game.
Yeah, I've played through it a pretty decent number of times now. So I remember the answers to pretty much all of the puzzles, except for the last one where I still just mash buttons and hope I get it right. I'm actually like not sure if you can get that one wrong, which is great. But anyway.
So yeah, people who don't know, that is a game made by Eric Chahi, who was a French
Yeah, he's
developer.
French.
Yeah, and it was released on the Super Nintendo and something else significant. So I think it was on MSX.
Yeah.
Or no, not MSX. MS DOS.
Yes, yeah, it was on DOS.
And something else. And recently, it's been ported because it was originally called Out of This World.
Yeah.
In the U.S., in France, and everywhere else it was ported to. In the PAL countries, it was called Another World. But the most recent Steam release is also called Another World. And yeah, I actually haven't played it, but I have seen that the playthrough, and I really like the history of that game. It's not really my genre at all, but I do respect it a lot.
Yeah. Man, IGN gave it a 4 out of 10.
Have you? Do you know about the sequel?
No, actually, I've not played the sequel.
Okay, so the sequel is called Heart of the Alien, and it's a CDI game where you play as Buddy, the partner character. And what happens is when you like escape the planet you're on or whatever, and you crash land in a village, and the main character dies, from the main character from the first game, and Buddy like carries his bloody corpse to his village. And in his village, all of his people are dead, and it's on fire. And you go on a revenge quest against all the aliens.
Sick.
It was like really, really panned for just like not being at all what the original was. And I'm pretty sure Eric Chahi didn't make that.
No, I do not think he did.
I'm pretty sure he like turned over the IP to somebody else, or like just kind of fell into someone's hands some way or another. But yeah, that exists.
I was not actually aware of that.
Yeah, just when we're done here, just check out Heart of the Alien and watch a walkthrough for it.
Okay.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And he just dies.
Yeah, or it's not when they crash land, but like something horrible like he gets like electrocuted and explodes or some shit. Like
God.
it's really screwed up. Follow that one, Reva.
Another World has like such a sweet ending.
Yeah.
So, my gosh, how do we follow?
So Sims 3.
Sims 3, yeah, no, actually, like, don't like The Sims 3 at all. The Sims 4 kind of grew on me, but I'm also not going to talk about The Sims anymore because I'm just going to get emotional. Another one of my favorite games is To the Moon, which you guys talked about in the first episode, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm so mad that I wasn't there because
We didn't know you existed yet.
yeah, well, I
Yeah.
think Dan.
I knew you.
Yeah,
I
Dan
didn't.
and I like were sort of friends.
You
Yeah,
had
yeah.
not yet crawled through a window in my presence.
Yes, I didn't even crawl through the window in your presence.
Oh, you still
That
haven't?
was yeah. I mean,
I was sick that day. That's right.
I can do it
Yeah,
now
that's right.
if you want.
Nah, I'm fine.
Yeah, we were friends. We were not hanging out all the time yet.
Yeah, I wasn't like living in your dorm. No, but To the Moon is one of my favorite games. It's I'm a very like tradition heavy person, and that's probably partially from growing up Catholic and everything. But this time every year, I try to make sure that I do two things, and it's read Holes by Lewis Sacker and play To the Moon.
What a
Okay.
weird combination.
Yeah.
My favorite To the Moon character is Sweet Feet.
Yeah. But To the Moon, when I played it in high school, it's been, oh gosh, it just had its 5th anniversary, I think, not too long ago.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. When it came out in high school, it was a very, like, pivotal time in my life because that was when I was taking the game design class for the first time. And I don't think I've talked about like my illustrious history in Kentucky's game design career, like curriculum or anything, but I ended up going and designing the curriculum for public schools in Kentucky for their game design classes. And To the Moon was a big part of that because it was the first indie game that I really remember playing and loving as much as I did some of the other games that I've played and thinking like, I could do this.
Yeah.
It's why I'm like where I am now and what I'm doing. My plans have changed in the past 5 years as things do, but To the Moon was really important in realizing that like I don't have to work for a big company to make something profound and important. It was also one of the first games that I remember like actually like sobbing at the end, like inconsolably. But it's very, very important to me.
I have to dash your hopes a little bit because I know who your Secret Santa is, and I told them to buy the platypus plushie and they couldn't find it.
No. Yeah, the platypus sold out.
I tried to look for it too, and I couldn't find it anywhere.
Oh, man. But yeah, it's one of my favorites. That and like paper rabbits. I knew for a while how to make paper rabbits, origami rabbits, and I have lost that skill because origami paper is kind of expensive. But I'm really psyched for Finding Paradise, just because it has taken so long for it to come out. I don't think it's not going to match To the Moon, at least not for me in terms of being as profound. But Kan Gao is pretty awesome about like making good stuff, because A Bird Story was really, really good too, and that's kind of a lead-in to Finding Paradise and everything. But
Yeah, like we talked about before, the main character of Finding Paradise is going to be the little boy from
A Bird Story, yes.
Yeah.
It's not going to really have a ton to do with A Bird Story. It's mostly just like an introduction to his character and that sort of thing. Like I think they're going to mention a couple of the things that happen in it, but also A Bird Story doesn't have much dialogue or anything.
No,
it's
a very art for art's sake kind of game.
Yeah, and I really like it. I think that it was handled really well, especially like still being made in RPG Maker. Like,
Yeah.
somebody buy him a decent software. But like To the Moon definitely has flaws and everything. Like that stupid plant scene at the very end,
Yeah.
which was in there because of Lauren Shigahara, who did the helped make the music for it. Also did the music for Plants vs. Zombies, which is why you throw plants at zombies.
Yeah,
Okay.
for 35 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, To the Moon is very, very important to me, and I love it.
Good.
You guys have such like rich histories with these games. Mine just like I like it.
I mean,
No, it's fine.
I have some games where like on my list, I don't know if we're gonna get to some of them, where it's just like, yeah, I really like this game, like Guitar Hero, where I still regularly cream 13-year-olds in Guitar Hero. Like I
Sick.
did competitive stuff with that for a while, and not too long ago, I actually was in Florida visiting friends, and was at a Disney resort and found a Guitar Hero arcade game, and there was like a 13-year-old there, and I just showed up in the room.
And you ruined his dreams.
Absolutely. I showed up in the
Nice,
room,
nice.
played a game against him, beat him by a lot. He was playing on easy, and I was playing on like expert. And I still like destroyed him and then just left. And it was probably the best feeling in the world. Like,
Just crush this child.
beating a 13-year-old boy in
So-
Guitar Hero at,
All right,
at a Disney resort.
Well, anyway, ruining the lives of children aside, but when I was making my list of my favorite games, I realized most of them you guys have like almost certainly never heard of or played, because
Okay.
they're all like obscure JRPGs. So I'm gonna try to like keep those for the end, just for the sake of discussion. And my next choice is actually Super Mario World.
I love Super Mario World.
Yeah, so Super Mario World was released in the U.S. in 1991. I think to this day it is like Shigeru Miyamoto's like magnum opus. I think as far as adventure platformers go, it's completely unmatched. I don't think any game has come close to comparing to how much this game communicates like non-verbally to the player, how rewarding exploration is, and how sheerly fun every single level in the game is.
Yeah.
It is like really, really like labor of love. Like I just have not seen a game this is what I think is the best game ever made. Which I know isn't like a weird opinion or anything like that for Super Mario World, but
Yeah, I mean, it's a very beloved game.
yeah, but like I really do think it's like completely unmatched in every single category. I think its
That's
graphics are a little bit of a relic of the past.
It still looks really nice.
Yeah, it definitely is, Super Mario Brothers 4. It is following like a linear path from 2 to 3's graphics and so forth. But I think that's fine. It was the game that introduced Yoshi. It introduced the Cape Power, which has always been recycled in some form in all the games. Like New Super Mario Brothers Wii has the like spinny hat. It was the game that introduced the P balloon thing.
Yeah, I love those.
For you to like get Fat Mario and then like blow your way around. And yeah, it had, is it 98 world exits total?
Something like that.
It's 98
There's
or
a lot.
86. It's one of those, and it also had I think it was 10 or 12 bonus stages that were called like Radical and Tubular and so forth, which were all like really like almost Kaizo level challenge runs. And I think those are really really fun and interesting because this game's not really difficult.
No.
It's definitely a for all audiences kind of game.
Yeah.
It revs up at the end. I think World 7 is pretty tough, and I
Yeah.
actually think Choco Mountain is one of the hardest like zones in a Mario game. But it has it like Super Mario Brothers 1 has run to the right levels. It has underwater levels, and that's pretty much it. 3 adds the airship levels and a few other things like that. And the auto-scrollers. Super Mario World adds, boo houses. It adds the, like, sky levels. It adds, levels that are really geared towards Yoshi. It's got the one where you ride dolphins. It's got one where there's water below you, and there's a bunch of platforms, but if you just keep holding right, you can dash across all the gaps.
Yeah.
It's got so much stuff. Like, I can't believe how much, like, ingenuity was packed into a single game that was released in Japan in 1990. Because
Crazy.
I just don't see games that do that anymore. I look pretty hard for them, and I do think that there have been like excellent platformers since then.
Yeah.
Like I just talked about Shovel Knight. I think Shovel Knight's probably the closest we've come to Super Mario World's ingenuity, but Shovel Knight's also kind of a different beast because it's almost not quite an RPG, but it's more of an action platformer than an adventure platformer.
Yeah.
You get a lot more skills. It reminds me more of DuckTales or Adventure of Link than Super Mario.
Yeah.
So as far as just like mass levels and just all of them being pure fun, I don't think anything's gotten anywhere close. Super Meat Boy would probably be the most astute comparison as far as like volume of levels, but Super Meat Boy is obviously going for a different demographic and has a different design philosophy than Super Mario World.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think that creative spark is gone. I think the bar was set too high in the first place. I think Miyamoto made the best possible platformer, and like until we invent some new dimension, it's just not going to be topped.
Jeez. Yeah. That's fair.
Because I don't think 3D platformers have beat it either. Super Mario 3D World is excellent, but I don't think it comes anywhere near this game. I think Super Mario 64 is outstanding, but it's also a different beast, and I don't think it compares. Yeah, I would fight to the death that this is the best game ever made.
Nice.
I feel very strongly about Super Mario World. I own Super Mario World on every platform it's ever been released on. I have like
That's a lot.
30 copies of this game. I really like it.
Okay.
All right, so now that we've been chatting for about half an hour, and I do have a promise that I have to keep. I did say that we would be reading the emails that people sent us about their favorite games on the air,
Oh, yeah.
And then making fun of it.
and only one of them. And I did.
The games are.
I did get in touch with this person and tell him to send me an update, and he didn't. So sorry, bud. Since I got 3 emails, so we're just gonna go in a circle, and I'll let you go first, Dane. Here's my phone.
Great. Do you want me to say the name?
Yeah, they've been on the show before.
Okay. Yeah. So this is Mark's favorite game. He was on the Final Fantasy episode.
He was on Final Fantasy and Castlevania and Game Preservation.
Oh yeah.
He's actually been here a lot.
Mhm.
Now I'm thinking about it. And his favorite game is Ape Escape for the PS1. He says, "Why? The game exudes a childlike, super fun adventure. There are some hilarious parodies that the monkeys do, like you'll find a monkey doing a moonwalk and his name will be Michael. The main villain is fun to deal with because of his superiority complex. All the gadgets the professor supplies you with are a great deal of fun to use. He also mentions that it was one of the first dual analog games, and it made a strong point of using both of them. Left one moves you, while the right one moves your weapon or tool in 3 dimensions. Says the game is geared toward people just playing around and for people who want to be completionists." And Mark says, "I think it's a must-play game."
Yeah, I haven't played it.
I think it's super fun. I love
Actually,
it.
that's not true. I did play it with Mark for a little while.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else have thoughts on Ape Escape? I think it's a cute, interesting game, but I haven't gotten my way to it yet.
All I've seen from Ape Escape is there's a couple of people that I follow on Twitter who like go through cycles of like playing games, and Ape Escape is one of the ones that like I've seen a lot of recently.
Yeah.
I don't really know too much about it, but I do see a lot of like screenshots of just like monkeys looking weird as fuck. Like
Yeah, they look kind of weird.
But it's like, for me, if it didn't come out on the Nintendo system, I didn't play it
Yeah, that's fair.
for the longest time because Catholicism.
Okay. So I'm going to read this one because I want you to read the third.
Okay.
Oh no.
So this one is from Jordan, who was on... Was he official? He was on Deus Ex,
Yeah, he was on Deus Ex.
and he was in the background of some of our early episodes.
Yeah.
So Jordan says, so I didn't really have any consoles growing up, with the exception of the few months that I had a PlayStation 2 and like 4 games. Blinks the Time Sweeper, which was okay, never finished it though. Some other game, and Thug 2, which still holds up.
Yeah.
One game I never hear anything about, and never see any mechanics from, is still one of my favorites, Metal Arms, often verbally confused with Medal of Honor. And then he sent me a link to its Metacritic page in the email. He says, I've only met a handful of people who played it, but its unique mechanics, half goofy, half gritty world, and great characters really sold me. I've played a few FPSs from that era, but the ability to sneak through areas or avoid them, or even use an EMP and hack into another robot, and use him to turn on his friends, is something I haven't really seen since. Anyway, that's my secret game I love. Thanks, Jordan Crandall.
That one's just pretty cool.
Yeah, I haven't played it. I confuse it with Metal Wolf Chaos.
I mean, there's robots in both of them, I guess.
Yeah, Metal Wolf Chaos is one of my favorite games because it's
Yeah.
insane. But I don't know enough about Metal Arms to talk about it. I don't know what these unique mechanics he's talking about are.
Yeah, I never played that much of Metal Arms. Like I had like a PS1 demo disc for it.
Mhm.
So like that's about the limit in my experience. Like I have played the game.
Demo discs.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I miss demo discs so much. They're so cool. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. Like if it had been cheap and I had not bought like another game instead of it,
Yeah.
probably like I did want to play it. I just had no money.
Yeah, because you bought Blinks the Time Sweeper instead.
I did not buy Blinks the Time.
Okay. And our third game was from my friend who's an avid listener, John.
Yeah.
He's He's not been on, unfortunately, although I would like to have him in the future. And he just sent me an email that says Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, and that's it.
Nice.
So I'm gonna turn this one over to Reva.
Um,
I mean, you can have my phone. That's all it says.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion.
Oblivion. Yeah.
No, Oblivion's one of the games that I've been playing through a lot lately. I think I have about 50 or so hours in on it, and it's just like my first time playing through. And I haven't done much of the story, the main quests, because I can't say much on it. I think I'm, and I know that Dan really likes the story behind why I haven't done most of the main quests. It's because I got to Kvatch, which is like very, very early game.
Yes.
It's like the second thing you do after getting out of the dungeon. I went to Kvatch to find the king's son, found him, and then you're supposed to like clear the path of like these hell beasts from like the Oblivion portal that opens.
Yeah.
And I couldn't fight them very well, so I said, well, fuck this. And I went and became the Arena Grand Champion. And then I became the head of the Thieves Guild and the head of the Dark Brotherhood. And I'm working on the Mages Guild right now, but I keep getting kicked out because I keep accidentally killing mages.
Don't worry, they'll always let you back in though.
Yeah, they let you back in after you go and find things, but also, like, thanks Todd Howard for console commands. But I've had a lot of fun. Oh,
No, not yet.
I've had a lot of fun with Oblivion, and I definitely see why it would be a favorite game, but I really liked that the email was just Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
Yeah, and I did tell John that my opinion of Oblivion's not very high, so
I love Oblivion.
he really ought to elaborate if I'm gonna talk about it. So I'm not gonna like shit on this game, but I will say my experience with it is that I had to restart it 4 times because I got locked out of it. Once I was doing the Thieves Guild, and as I walked in the room, his name's Grey Fox, I think.
Yeah.
Just phases through the floor while talking to me slowly.
Because you weren't good enough to see him.
I guess I wasn't good enough at being a thief, and he disappeared, and I couldn't finish the quest.
Thanks,
so,
Gabriel.
So what I ultimately did was I said, fuck this, I'm going to beat this game so I can, cross it off my list or whatever. I started the game over, went, killed a knight, took the silver longsword, joined the Dark Brotherhood, took their base armor, and then I just sprinted through the rest of the game killing everything because it scales to your level and levels are meaningless.
Yeah.
So that was my experience with that game.
It scales to your level, but only when you first go to an area.
Yes, and then it's
So-
locked at that level forever.
Yes. So when I go back to Kvatch, now being level 20 or something, and when I went, I was level 2. I'm gonna murder the fuck out of everything.
Yeah,
Like,
just
wow,
die instantly.
why did I avoid doing this for so long? Blah blah blah.
Okay. And on that note, we're going to take a short break, recoup ourselves. I have to drain talking about Oblivion out of my brain so I can pretend it never happened. And we will be right back shortly. Dan, how about some Shovel Knight music?
Sure. Give me just a second to find some.
Okie doke. We'll keep chattering for 20 more seconds, I suppose.
Yeah, I could
Talking about stuff.
always talk more about Guitar Hero and how I just make children cry when I play Guitar Hero, or Rock Band. Is the other one that I play a lot of.
I'm really good at Rock Band and I don't own it. I'm so good at it.
This is playing for the wrong device.
Okay.
Well.
So anyway, more about Rock Band.
More about
So
Rock
more
Band.
about Rock Band.
More about Rock Band. Rock Band 1 has a Fall Out Boy song, so it's the best rock band ever. It has Dead on Arrival, which is their very first single, which is not very good. But I love Rock Band, and I love that it has character customization.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's just for no reason.
Okay, now that tangent's over, Dan, play us out.
I was gonna look something up for
God damn it.
Good job just creating a horrible soundscape for our listeners.
Did they hear that, Dan?
It's gonna be on the Audacity recording.
Okay.
So the stream did not, but the YouTube listeners will.
Okay, let me know when we're back on.
We are back on.
Oh, okay. So if you want to know what we're talking about, I didn't want to drink straight out of our new guest's carton of milk, so I was pouring shots into the cap.
Mm-hmm. We were also cutting a block of Baker's chocolate with a credit card.
Yeah, I couldn't snap it with my hands, or with a karate chop, or with my elbow, so I sawed it with my GameStop card.
Yeah.
I alluded to this. We have a new guest at the moment. Introduce yourself, old buddy, old pal. Also,
Scoot a little
scoot
closer.
closer to the mic.
Yeah. Scoot.
There you go.
Just like that.
I wish this was video too. Hello, I'm Jake King. That's it.
Jake King is an expert on all video games.
All of them. He's played every video.
Every single one that has
Yeah.
to do with World of Warcraft.
Yeah. We haven't done a Blizzard episode, but we probably will, and I'll tell you about it.
Radical.
So, we are going in a circle and talking about our favorite games. So, let's just skimmy on over. We'll make it your turn. So you can go ahead and tell us what's your one of your favorite games at least. Doesn't have to be your favorite.
Oh boy. Let's see here. I'm really into Blizzard games,
Yeah.
and my favorite of the franchise or of the company's franchises is probably World of Warcraft. So I'd say my favorite game is probably Star Fox Assault.
Yeah, same.
It's a really it's a title actually Star Fox Assault though. No, not joking. It's probably one of my favorite games. And it's a GameCube title that went sort of under the rug. Oh, geez, too much talking about. And the title combined the on-rail shooting of Star Fox 64 and third-person shooters.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the first Star Fox game where you could just get out of your R-wing and play as Fox on the main battleground, and you had lasers and different weapons and things. And
So it was equal parts Star Fox 64 and Battalion Wars.
never played Battalion Wars, but
It was equal parts Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah, basically, it's very comparable to Battlefront 2. Yeah, And there was also like other vehicles you could get. Well, there's only one other vehicle. You can get the Landmaster too.
Mhm.
And the Landmaster was used for taking down R-Wings, and the R-Wings were really good at taking down people on the ground. And people were just not... It was just not good to be on the ground as a person. Like,
You really don't
now
wanna
that
do
I
that.
think about it, like, you know, because you've got like a tank and, you know, fighter ships trying to kill you, so you want to probably get in a vehicle as much as possible or as fast as possible. But other than that, the game's like story was like not very overwhelming. It was just like the Star Fox cast come across another monkey guy who's like the cousin of, because he's like
Andros?
the nephew of Andros named Oinkany.
Oinkany.
Oinkany or
Is he like-
Oinkany, I think his name was.
Is he also like a weird monkey person?
Yeah, he pretty much was he was his nephew, because there's a point where you beat him and he says, "Uncle Andros," and then it like explodes. But
Yeah.
after he explodes, it's like the first mission of the game, and it's like he turns into like Andros's like big head hand thing, but like in a robot form, like a ship turns into it, and then it's like, oh, I've seen this before, and if you've played N64 Star Fox, you're like, oh, this is just the final boss. And then you beat him, and it's like, well, what do we do now? We just beat the main villain, and then this bug comes down, and it's like, oh no, this old threat again, is what Peppy, or the hare says, and he
Yeah.
goes like, what is this? And it's like, oh, the old bug threat named Aporoids or something, and it's like, it's revealed like over the course of the game that they have like all these like overpowered abilities. Like if you accept the Aporoids as like the saviors of the universe, then you get to become an Aporoid. So there's actually a really disturbing boss where you guys have played N64 Star Fox, I'm assuming. So you know who Pigma is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pigma ends up like believing in like the Aporoids, and you find him on a freighter, and the freighter, and he's like sitting there like going like he's like part of the ship, like his bottom of his torso is like melded into it,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh, this is incredible, and then he's like,
God.
and then like some shafts close over him, and he like gets smushed in, and it shows him again, and his face is just like like in the ship.
God.
It's really messed up, and it scared me as a kid.
Yeah, that's kind of spooky.
So like the game has like all these really weird like body horror imagery and stuff, like, and like parasites, and like the bugs can like use mind control and like steal the personalities of people. It's really messed up and mature for a Star Fox game.
Jeez.
But yeah, that's my favorite game.
Yeah, that's... Oh,
Okay.
boy. I don't think I'm inviting you back on. So anyway, I guess we'll go back to Dan now.
Sure. Let's see. So next on my list is probably Dark Souls.
Cool. I can talk about that.
Yeah.
Me too.
Dark Souls was a really interesting experience for me playing it. I never played Demon Souls before it, and I went in blind, so I just had to like figure everything out, which was really, really hard. Dark Souls is not actually that long of a game, but it took me, I think, like 120 hours to finish my first run through of Dark Souls.
It took me about
Yep.
that long too.
Yeah, and we've talked extensively about Dark Souls, so
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what else we talk about with that.
Yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite games. It was like a crazy, huge experience for me playing through it, especially like discovering the crazy conspiracy theory community behind it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like at first glance it looks like a fan fiction community, but it's like, oh my god, all these theories have backing and like evidence. Like
Yeah, it's definitely a game that lasts beyond your final game time.
Yeah.
It's we talk about Dark Souls at least once a week for the
Pretty
past
much.
like 3 years.
Yeah.
it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, we talk a lot about Dark Souls.
Oh yeah. It's like probably my favorite game of all time.
I like it because it's Berserk.
Yeah.
I've never read Berserk, so
Berserk is the shit, and we
Berserk's
should
great.
do a manga episode just talk about Berserk.
Yeah. I also hadn't read Berserk until after I played Dark Souls, so that was like that was an interesting experience.
I'm pretty sure I read Berserk after I played 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Before
yeah,
3.
Yeah, because you didn't read it until like
To like
2 years
last
ago.
year, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Reba?
Wind Waker is
Nice.
is one of my favorites.
But Zelda's not that.
Casey, you
What?
You're Mr.
What?
Zelda tattoo.
What? I have a Zelda game on my list.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do it next.
How?
What do you mean?
How did you get clearance for that?
Oh, I'm going to get a cease and desist because I said Zelda.
No, Wind Waker is one of my favorites. I've always like really been into like the sea and the ocean and everything, which is another reason why like Moana is one of my favorite movies of the year thus far.
Why are you both laughing?
Yeah, what's up? What's up?
We have the nautical champion. we remembered the Freshie joke earlier.
What is the nautical champion?
Okay. This is brief tangent. Our friend Freshie, who I believe he was on the Castlevania episode.
Yeah.
We
Oh my god.
we were he was playing Guilty Gear with Luke earlier, and he picked the like pirate girl. We were like,
Yeah.
we were like, Freshie, you like pirate characters and everything, and he's like, yeah, you only use nautical champions in League of Legends, and I gave him the nickname Nautical Champion and wrote a poem for him on Twitter. So as soon as you said the ocean, we just looked at each other and thought of the Nautical Champion and started laughing.
Dude, Freshie's the most underwhelming person you'll ever meet in your entire life. So it's the title Nautical Champion.
You go follow me on Twitter at Handshake Guy, and you'll see the Nautical Champion in all of his glory. I post a picture of him once a week.
So I wasn't there for that. So my experience with the nautical champion was I walked back into the room and Freshie challenged me to Guilty Gear, and I've played a pretty good amount of Guilty Gear. Like I'm not as good as Luke because Luke's just really good at fighting games. But he says like the nautical champion is ready, and then I told him, and he says the nautical champion will retire.
Will retire.
And it was, anyway, Wind Waker.
So
You might not want to use ocean again.
so Wind Waker is
The nautical champion of time.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, Wind Waker Ganondorf is like one of my favorite villains in any game, just because like it's the same Ganondorf in every other Zelda game, but he's like the one I think that they've given the best characterization to and everything. Like
He definitely feels meaner than the other ones.
he feels meaner, but it also explains like, you know, the big quote from Endgame Wind Waker is, "I coveted that wind, I suppose."
Mm-hmm.
And it really, that was the moment where I finally understood Ganondorf, just because like the Gerudo had been shoved into the desert for years, and like just imagine, like it was the first time that I could actually picture like kind of what his intentions were with wanting to like take over Hyrule, because his people were shoved in the desert and he could see everything that the other, like that the Hylians got. They got the nice grass and the nice breeze and everything, and he and his people were stuck in the desert, like banished there. And it was the first time that I really, really understood what he was going through. And Wind Waker Ganondorf is one of my favorite characters in anything, because he is mean, but also Nintendo's localization team does funky stuff sometimes, but I feel like Wind Waker Ganondorf is the best example of them localizing a game, because in the original Wind Waker, he speaks in a very particular way of Japanese, where it's very old-fashioned. There's no real equivalent in English of that, but he speaks in iambic pentameter, or as close to it as you can get, throughout most of the game, which I felt was a really, really good way of them trying to bring over this poetic Japanese old-fashioned way of speaking into English. And it's one of their, by far, one of the better localization attempts by Nintendo and the Treehouse, because they have been very bad lately about some stuff. But I feel like they take Zelda seriously enough to where some of that stuff does get carried over, whereas like in some of the Mario games and everything, it's like, oh, Mario's joking, so we'll just make a bunch of jokes, even though it might not warrant it.
I'll tell you what series they don't take seriously. That's Fire Emblem.
Uh-huh.
Oh boy, don't they?
Oh.
We'll come back to that.
But Wind Waker is one of my favorites, and my big complaint about it is that it does feel very empty. but it also works really well for the game's theme and everything, the emptiness. It's one of my favorites. I played it on GameCube. We have my friend's copy that we borrowed and just never gave back. Sorry, Aaron. But I also bought it like for my Wii U as soon as I got my Wii U because I had to play it and I had to do the selfies and everything, which is like
when I bought a Wii U with that pre-installed, and I proceeded to selfie every single boss in the game.
Yeah, it's like you've got the really sick gamepad that has
Yeah.
all the designs on it, which I'm super jealous of, and you just need to like.
No, you can't have it.
No. It's gonna be gone one day, and then also I will be gone one day, and you'll never see me again.
You're just off on the road with a cigar and a leather jacket, just carrying it under your arm.
Yeah.
No, you're holding it in a vat like Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of my favorite games, and I hope that some of the stuff that came along with like that big open world and that exploration with Zelda is carried over into Breath of the Wild. I think it's going to be handled a little better just from everything that I've seen so far. It looks like they've shown us 4 villages, I think, which is more than there are in Wind Waker, so they've at least got that under control. But
Wind Waker was the game that inspired me to wear a Green Bay Packers hat backwards, hold a garbage can lid and a stick in one hand, and just go beat the shit out of people in my neighborhood when I was a kid.
Yeah.
it's
At least it's not what Yu-Gi-Oh inspired you to do.
Oh, yeah. Should I tell that story?
Are we allowed to?
I don't, this might be incriminating.
Statute of limitations passed.
Okay, so when I'll keep this quick. When I was a youngin', I had a friend named Ian, and over the summer we would climb up on my garage roof and play Yu-Gi-Oh together. And the loser got kicked off the garage roof and sent to the Shadow Realm. Yeah, that's the short of that story. We wouldn't take each other's cards or anything, but I would kick him onto like spikes and shit, like just discarded wood with nails.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
but Wind Waker is one of my favorites. I love it to pieces, and I'm probably gonna play it again over the break.
Is it the best Zelda?
It's one of my favorites. I also really like Ocarina of Time, but you've written a very long piece on why.
Yeah, me and everyone else on the internet.
Yeah. On why it is or is not.
I just said it's overrated. I didn't say it was bad. It is, but I didn't say that.
Oh my gosh. I also really like Skyward Sword, but nobody else does, which is fine.
What, Jake?
I really think that Skyward Sword has some of the best like dungeon designs of Zelda. Like it has one of my favorite dungeons ever, which is the Lotus, where it's got all that mythology, where it's all that gold above, and then underneath is the hell sort of thing, and when Link has to climb up the rope with all the boboblins or whatever chasing him and everything. No, but Wind Waker is probably my favorite Zelda. I love it to death. I'm probably gonna, if I ever get a Zelda tattoo, like Casey, Mr. Cool Guy.
Mr. Cool Guy.
I'm gonna have to get that covered. I'm gonna get that covered with someone's name.
No, see, what you've got to do is you've got to get a sick tattoo of Wolf Link howling underneath it. So then
Oh god.
Oh, and I can just put a moon behind the Triforce.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then you have a sick tattoo of a wolf, and it's still Zelda.
I can get 3 Link Moon.
Yeah,
Link Moon.
exactly.
Okay, my turn. And I'm gonna talk about a good game.
I'll just leave.
No, I actually do like Wind Waker. Like I said, it inspired the most meaningless part of my childhood. Mine is A Link to the Past, which
Nice.
was also made in 1991. It's a Super Nintendo game, and I also think that it's Takashi Tezuka's best work. Tezuka worked on most of the games that Miyamoto did as well. He was the like Miyamoto would conceptualize a game, and Tezuka would put it together. He would make that idea work. So a lot of the interesting part, like Super Mario Brothers, like the inertia and stuff like that, and the gravity of your jumps is all Tezuka's work.
Yeah.
And I think this is his magnum opus. I think he really hit the mark with A Link to the Past, and I haven't played a Zelda game that I've liked as much as that since. I haven't played A Link Between Worlds yet, but I really want to.
A Link Between Worlds is really, really good. It stands very well as something that is a sequel, but not really. It was,
Yeah,
I've heard actually nothing negative about it.
yeah.
it's
It's the only Zelda game. No, Breath of the Wild I'm excited for, but it's the only Zelda game in like 10 years I've been excited for.
Yeah.
Other than that,
It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Mm.
I played a good bit of it.
yeah. Don't you have it in your
Yeah.
dorm? I'm gonna
Yes.
borrow it.
It was one
Okay.
of the first Zelda games that I'd like 100% completed. Like Wind Waker's my favorite, but I haven't done all of the like because I fucking hate the figures. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
do the stupid figure thing.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah. So I haven't 100% completed it, but I very much did that with A Link Between Worlds because it's very good.
Mhm. Yeah, I think also A Link to the Past is notable for having one of the first major Easter eggs in video games. Not the first ever, because they did exist on the Atari. But A Link to the Past has the room with I can't remember the person's name, but it was Chris Houlihan.
Oh right, who won the contest?
Yeah, he wrote into the magazine. He wrote into Nintendo Power, and he was able to get his name in the game. So what happens is you have to like glitch your way into this room, and it's just got a bunch of rupees in it, and a message pops up that says like, "I am Chris Houlihan. This is my room," and so forth. If you found this, you're not supposed to be here or something. They made that like virtually inaccessible in every version but the very first. So like finding it is really, really tough. Like you have to glitch your way into it now, which is kind of a spit in his face a little bit, but it's still a neat feature.
You know what's really funny about that too? That room, how it says like you're not supposed to be in here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of games after that by Nintendo, they used that same wording for if you glitched out like sequences. So like in Paper Mario, if you sequence break the game and get to that, I've never played Paper Mario, but there's like a Toad Village or something. And if you get to that Toad Village before you're supposed to, then all the characters will say you're not supposed to be here yet.
Oh, okay. So it's if you manage to sequence break your way to the South Toad Town.
Yeah.
Earlier than you're meant to.
Yeah, and they all have different dialogue too.
Yeah.
And they all say at the end, but if you're reading this, you're not supposed to be here yet.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a neat little tip of the hat of the developers going like, hey, what you doing?
Hey, I see you there.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's pass it on over to Jake then.
All right. I'd say another one of my favorite games is okay. So I'm gonna keep the ball rolling on good game, bad game.
Do you dislike A Link to the Past?
No. I'm just gonna. Well, no. Wind Waker is pretty good, and Link to the Past is pretty good. So I guess I'm just gonna start bad games. One of my favorite games is Sonic Adventure 2.
Yes.
Ooh.
You're not giving me a lot to work with.
Jeez Louise.
I had a childhood with Sonic Adventure 2, so I can pretend I still like it.
Yeah. So Sonic Adventure 2 gets a lot of flack these days, and the main reason why is because of Pro Jared reviewing it, and Pro Jared absolutely chastised that game.
Yeah.
And so I used to watch a lot of Pro Jared until that
Not
video.
anymore.
Until that video, and the reason why is because Pro Jared called out the game for like shoddy voice acting. It called it out for like the simple plot, and then at the end he said, "This game's really bad. It's almost like it's a children's game." And then I thought to myself, in what world is a Sonic game not a children's game?
Yeah, and all the same, that's not really that doesn't excuse it because Kirby's also a children's game and Kirby's awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
It's one of those things where just because something is designed to be family friendly doesn't mean it's bad, and like that's the mentality I hate with like games. It has to be super dark and edgy or whatever.
Yeah, Kirby is always my answer to that because Kirby's incredible.
Yeah. And like I see what he was saying in the video about how he was saying like, oh, the Tails levels are really bad. I didn't like the Tails levels as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I didn't hate them because obviously I beat the game as a kid. I 100%ed it.
Yeah,
and
same.
the Knuckles levels, everyone hates the Knuckles levels, but I actually really liked them. I thought Knuckles was so freaking cool. And, like, the ability to, like, dig underground and find stuff and, like, the ability to glide and fly around and, like, explore this, like, open world to, like, find these, like, crystals. Sometimes I just wouldn't even find the crystals. I'd just go explore and find all the secrets and, like, animals and stuff. But the Sonic and Shadow parts are, like, the silver lining of the entire game.
See, even when I played it recently, they don't control that well.
Yeah, no, the controls could be better, but like even today when I play City Escape, like the first level of the entire game,
Yeah.
I'm still like super hyped up and I love that
Yeah,
section.
because Sonic Adventure 2 does one thing like unbelievably well, and that's presentation.
Yeah.
Everything else, music's good. I like Crush 40. Even
Crush 40
like,
is really good.
I like Crush 40 outside of Sonic music too.
Yeah.
But I think that game like really, really misses the mark everywhere else.
Oh, yeah, for
but
sure.
I grew up with it, and I thought Sonic was cool, like way past cool when I was a kid.
That's cool.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
That's right, he says that.
Yeah, and Shadow was awesome when I was a kid because he almost cussed in that game.
I still like Shadow as a character. I think Shadow's design's really cool. Because as a kid, I really liked Sonic.
Uh-huh.
Like Sonic was like my thing. I was like, oh man, I want all the Sonic games. And then my cousin, I'm at my cousin's house, and he's like, hey, you ever played this Sonic game? And I said, what is it? And it shows the intro, and it shows Black Sonic, and I'm like,
Blonic.
I'm like, who's that? And he's like, oh, that's Shadow. This is getting better and better. And then, and
That's
like,
the coolest name I've
and,
ever
and then he
heard.
does his voice, and he's like, I'm Shadow. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is the best. This is the best game I've ever played in my entire life. And so I put on my emerald goggles, and I just was like, oh my god, this world is amazing. Like,
See, what that game did was it perfectly encompassed all of 90s nostalgia in the year 2000.
yeah.
It really just gathered it all up in a ball and then just like built a vague box around it and then just pushed it down.
There's one thing that there's one thing I always say to people whenever they say like, oh man, like Sonic Adventure 2 is like completely broken, like the game doesn't work. It's like, have you played original Sonic Adventure?
Oh,
and it's like, at least, okay, so they had this like open world RPG thing going on. It doesn't work in a Sonic game. Like Sonic can run fast, so how they solved that and how they made the game like satisfying to run around in is they made the world way too big. So
Yeah.
that it took like actually 3 minutes to go from point A to point B because Sonic was running really fast, but it's like halfway across the world to get to your next destination. So it's a lot better to just sort of be on a select screen and go boop. It's like, oh, the next level. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I like about it anyway.
And then something Chow Garden. Moving on.
Oh yeah, Chow Garden's really good. I really like the Chow Garden.
Everyone likes Chow Garden. That's everyone's like redeeming part of that game. So
And who in the world played Sonic Adventure for the Game Boy?
I did.
I never had it. Like I always
Sonic
wanted it.
Advance, I did.
Sonic Advance.
I played the shit
That's
out of
right,
Sonic
Sonic
Advance.
Advance. That's
Yeah.
right. He's always like, link up your Sonic Advance game, and I was like, how? Like,
But they only made 6 GameCube link cables, and I had 2 of them.
yeah, jeez.
I actually didn't play the main game. I just played the Chow Garden.
Yeah, half the content in the Chow Garden and Sonic Adventure was linked to the Chow Garden in Sonic Advance. So like you couldn't play Chow like half the Chow like karate stuff. You couldn't play half the Chow racing stuff. You couldn't play basically any of the mini games unless you were linking to the Chow Garden in Advance.
Yeah.
So it made me really sad as a kid because I didn't have one of those. And then I got the PC port, and it's impossible on the PC port. So
Oh. Yeah. That's sad.
Yeah.
I did.
Let's see. For my next favorite game.
Also, let's just do 2 more apiece for time's sake.
Yeah.
If that has any influence on your decision.
Yeah. My next ones are going to be fairly short because they're mostly just games that I think are good.
Okay.
Um,
And then we'll do a quick like just list of games we like at the end.
okay. My next one's probably actually Super Meat Boy.
Okay.
I played it originally as like the Flash game Meat Boy on Newgrounds and 100%ed it on there. Then like it blew my mind when the actual game came out, and then I have not 100%ed Super Meat Boy because that's really hard, especially
Yeah.
like doing like the like perfect Dark World runs.
yeah.
But I've done perfect runs of the first 2 worlds and the first Dark World. No, actually, yeah, the first 3 worlds in the first Dark World. And I like got almost all the Band-Aids.
I think I once told you I don't like that game.
Yes. Yeah, I remember like freshman year, like one of the, because we were talking about platformers, and I mentioned that Super Meat Boy was my favorite platformer, and you said that you like did not like it.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say, like, and I said, I don't like you. Like,
Oh, I just thought you were wrong.
Jeez.
no, that's fine. I think my opinion of it changed. I don't really like super difficult games other than Dark Souls, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, Super Meat Boy is not really for me, but I do appreciate it.
Good.
It's certainly
Better
no.
change your-
It's certainly better than Zelda.
All right, go ahead and tell us about Skyward Sword.
No, I'm
please.
actually going to talk about Undertale, which is like.
Oh, good game.
Delete.
Good game.
That was one of mine.
Well, we can just talk about it.
No, go ahead.
No, Undertale is one of my favorites. Like, I remember playing the demo and everything, like right after it came out, and I was like, I pushed everybody I knew to play Undertale.
And the internet hates us for it.
Yes, absolutely. But I think any game that makes me want to be a better person really like deserves.
Deserves some real recognition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a completionist to some extent, where I did do the bad time run
Wow,
in
you
Undertale.
monster.
Yeah,
couldn't.
and I
My
felt
heart.
absolutely disgusting doing it, and that's something that like has had a huge like impact on me. Like, I've played games where I've made bad decisions and kind of felt bad about it, but I haven't felt like to the extent that I did when I played Undertale, like just this absolutely horrible person. And the really cool thing about Undertale is that even if you start over, it doesn't ever really completely forget your decisions.
Yeah, it's
So-
save data in I think
Yes.
like 4 or 5 different locations.
Yeah, so it's super hard to do a completely clean wipe of it. And I guess, like, mild spoilers for anybody who doesn't know. Undertale's a year old now, so I don't feel as bad talking about it. But if you do, I guess what I call it a bad time run, just because, like,
'Cause you're gonna have a
you're
bad
gonna have a
time.
bad time. But other people call it a genocide. and
Because
it's like,
Sans
ugh.
is. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was also going to talk very briefly about Earthbound as well. But it's if you do a bad time run and then you go back and do a pacifist run immediately after, at the very end of the game, everything is pretty much the same until you get to the very, very end. And at the end, if you do a pacifist run before you do a bad time run, at the end it shows a picture of the player character and all of the friends and everything. But if you do a bad time run and then a pacifist run, everybody's face is crossed out. It's marked through in red ink. And the rest of the game is, you wouldn't know that anything is different until you get to that minute, because at the end of the bad time run, you sell your soul to reset the world. And it's just that, like, reminder that this mistake you made will follow you forever. It was just, like, crazy to me. And, like, going through Undertale's, like, files, it's that and The Sims 2 are, like, the two games that I've, like, cracked open, which sounds ridiculous, but it's so simply executed how it keeps track of all that. It's just a 0 or a 1 in a couple of different places.
Because Toby Fox is not a...
Okay, Toby Fox is not a programmer. Nintendo wants to port Undertale to the Wii U, but somebody
But
has
he
to
doesn't know how.
completely rewrite the game,
Yeah, 'cause
because he made it in Game Maker, and Game Maker doesn't export to Wii U. So he's like, well, somebody else has to make it, and there's like, isn't it every time you enter a room, there's like 100 or so conditions it checks every single time you enter a new room?
God, it's horrible. There's over 100 case checks.
Yeah, I'm pretty
on
sure it's
all
really
actions.
poorly optimized.
It
It
is.
absolutely is, but even for that, it runs extremely well and everything. Like, you
That's
don't
because
know.
it's like it's a game maker game though.
Yeah. But it's like when you crack open the hood, you're like, holy shit, this game is busted as hell. But it's one of my favorites, and like sort of Earthbound ties in with that because Undertale is the game that made me want to be a better person, at least think about sort of what I was doing with people. And Earthbound, when I played most of it originally, I haven't finished it. But when I played it, I was living in Florida, away from my family for the first real time in my life. I was 18 and everything, fresh out of the freaking womb, I guess. And Earthbound made me call my mom, because there's any game that has a status condition that can only be cured by calling your mom in the game. And it made me call my mom when I was living away from home and everything. And I just bought it again for my new Nintendo 3DS. So I'm really excited to play it again and feel that like overwhelming sense of like homesickness and everything. But Earthbound and Undertale, I think, go hand in hand with like games that make me want to do things outside of them. Are just
Earthbound makes me want to order pizza and get money from my dad.
Makes me want to befriend a super powerful bee.
Earthbound is great because like for the pizza delivery man, they made a pathfinding algorithm to where Ness can stand in any place in the game and the pizza guy will be able to find you. Like, it's absolutely insane how much
Absolutely mad.
how much detail went into that, because they could have used it for an enemy, they could have used it for literally anything else, but they decided
Besides
to
the
use
pizza guy.
yeah, they decided to use it for the pizza guy.
Oh my
he can
God.
get to you from anywhere, which is super funny, because you call him and then it takes a little bit in game for him to get to you because he's a pizza delivery guy. He just doesn't show up. So then Ness can you can try to find somewhere where he can't get to you, but he always will, which I think is the funniest thing ever.
The pizza man will find you.
Yes, they could have used it for an enemy. Like,
Yeah, that's like a horror game.
yeah,
It's just the monster from It Follows. But
But
pizza.
yeah, it's like they could have easily used that for like anything but the pizza guy, but they decided to use it for the pizza guy. But yeah,
That's their spell.
yeah.
Okay. I guess I better knock off my favorite game of all time off this list.
Yeah.
That's actually Paper Mario for the 64.
Okay.
Jake, you said you haven't played it.
Yeah, I haven't.
I thought we were friends.
Oh.
I also haven't played
To
it.
be fair, I've played it. I have never played more than an hour of it.
Okay, hurry up.
Hurry up.
So, Paper Mario was developed by Intelligent Systems, who also made Advance Wars and Fire Emblem, two of my other favorite franchises. This was released in 2001 in the US, 2000 in Japan. You play as the Super Mario in paper form,
Uh-huh.
and you team up with party members that you find to solve puzzles and do turn-based battles with like action systems that were developed as early as originally in Super Mario RPG, but it's actually a carryover from older games like Breath of Fire. So you hit A when you jump on an enemy, you get to do another hit. You hold the hammer back and you charge it up and you swing and you do more damage. So it's a very, very simplistic game, and most battles are more puzzles than they are. They're more like efforts in resource management than they are actual turn-based battles, like traditionally speaking. And I think that's really interesting because I treat every single battle as like, how can I do this without getting hit? Or like, how can I like kill all these enemies in one round and things like that. So the reason this is my favorite game is actually like kind of derived in nostalgia. I had rented it from a store when I was, or I rented it from Blockbuster when I was 5.
Yeah.
And they were at the time starting to kind of get rid of all their N64 games to make room for the GameCube and the PS2 coming out. And for Christmas when I was 6 years old, there was one copy left, and my parents went and bought it for me.
Nice.
And I still have like that same cartridge now 15 years later.
Good.
And it's the only N64 game I still own, and it's just like in my closet, like enshrined forever. But I love it. I play it every year on my birthday. One year I played through it and like took screenshots because I played it on my computer. Suck it up, emulator haters. I've played this game 60 times. And I just like the scene where Lakeelister says like, "Oh, come on, call me Spike." I photoshopped Spike Spiegel's head on him. So I have a lot of fun with this game. I know it inside and out. I know every single badge where everything is in the game, and I just adore playing it. It's so charming, and I think this is the point where Nintendo started to hit their creative stride. Because I do think Super Mario RPG is really good, but it doesn't have the same color and whimsy that Paper Mario does. And while I do think The Thousand Year Door is the superior game, and and it builds on everything that Paper Mario 1 does, and it's better across the board, I think. Paper Mario just really represents Nintendo finding like the start of their modern creative inspiration, and I really appreciate everything about this game. I think it's like the 6th best game ever made. I'm not going to go through the others, but it's really high up there for me.
Yeah.
Jake?
Well, when you talked about Kirby, I remembered one of my other favorite games of all time, and
If it's not Kirby Air Ride, get out.
I hate Kirby Air Ride. I'm so sorry. I hate Kirby Air
no,
Ride.
it's not Kirby Air Ride. I did play Kirby Air. Okay,
Something City Trial.
a big part of my childhood was the GameCube. That's why Sonic Adventure 2 is
Right.
held so high for me, and Star Fox Assault, and basically
But there wasn't a Kirby game on the GameCube except for Air Ride.
Yes, but that's the only reason. The only reason why I said that is because I wanted to affirm that I do like Kirby Air Ride.
To explain and
That
defend yourself.
To defend that I do like Kirby Air Ride for these reasons. Now, the Kirby game that I really like is because of Game Grumps playing through Kirby Superstar, but my favorite is Kirby Superstar Ultra for the DS.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely love that game. And the reason why is because one thing I really look forward to in any video game is a satisfying co-op experience. And Kirby Superstar and Kirby Superstar Ultra give that experience like really well, because what it does is that it allows your friend to play as a monster, and if your friend can play as a monster, so they can have any power that you can.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as your friend picks up a power, and then your friend like presses down and B, and then he drops that power to create you're the bud, you're the companion now.
And more importantly, if Kirby eats a food item, you can make out with your friends to share it with them.
Yep. Yep. And that's a little more of a on the bizarre end. I forgot about that. But
I didn't. Guess what, Jake? You're my friend.
another really cool thing about the game is that like a lot of games that have co-op where like almost every other Kirby co-op game that's ever been done before, you play as like Waddle Dee or something.
Mm-hmm.
And Waddle Dee can't absorb enemies. He always has like a spear or some kind of other gimmick to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't like float infinitely like Kirby can. But in this game, Nintendo was just like, that's dumb, screw that. And what they did was they just allowed the companion to just have as many jumps as they want if they just mash A. Not similar, but exactly the same as Kirby does. Mm-hmm. And because you can make any like power up into a companion, you're not limited by what powers you have. You can have just as much fun as the Kirby can. It's just that you can't change them on the spot. But like you can be like, hey, and on top of that, the companion, if they press down B, then they can just like, I'm pretty sure they just like self-destruct themselves or something.
They set a timer and then they can go blow up.
Yeah, and then they just blow up, and it does damage too, which is really cool because you can just be
You can fuck up Dynablade
you can
like that.
you can go Majin Vegeta on people like.
I'm just imagining like the Knuckle Joe just like reaches out to like Kid Trunks and he's just like, I've never told you this.
It's like, I've never hugged you before, Trunks. And then he's just like, you monster, looking at whatever the cloud enemy is.
Crackle. Kracko.
Kracko, yeah.
And then he just jumps and blows up.
Yeah, Kracko's like, I'm gonna zap you up. And then he's just like, for my family. Like, oh my gosh.
He just does Final Flash.
The game is just so creative. I think,
Yeah.
honestly, it's probably my favorite Kirby game of all time, and I've played through a lot of Kirby games. I've played through Superstar, the original. I played a little bit of Epic Yarn, I believe, and one of my other favorites, which is Crystal Shards, which is also probably one of the worst Kirby games, like, by design-wise.
Yeah, I thought I loved that game until I played it recently.
Yeah, it has. I will say it has the coolest power-ups of any Kirby game.
Oh, it does. It has the two-sided lightning sword.
Yeah, because you can combine two power-ups. That's the whole gimmick of the game. I'm
It
really
has the
disappointed that it
exploding
never came
ninja stars.
back. Yeah, I'm really disappointed that it never came back, because the really cool thing you could do with that is you could just like get the boomerang power, and it's like, man, I really like the boomerang power, and then you get another boomerang power,
And big ass boomerang with teeth.
yeah, and it's like, oh man, I can't get enough spikes, so just get another spikes. Like, it was just a pretty creative game. It was just limited by the N64, which just wasn't friendly to Kirby games.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, Kirby hit a rough patch in the N64 and GameCube era.
Yeah.
'Cause it was really at like the top of its game on the SNES.
It kind of got forgotten during the GameCube.
Yeah.
Because Air
Well,
Ride
'cause-
happened.
Yeah, but they had the Game Boy Advance games because they had the remake of Kirby's Adventure and Amazing Mirror.
Yep. In fact, it's gotten forgotten for a while. Because, like, you know, Epic Yarn came out, but I think the first, like, good Kirby game to come out in a while was Planet Robo or whatever it's called. Robobot, yeah.
Planet Robobot might be the best Kirby game.
A lot of people say it's really good.
I love it. It's probably my like second favorite 3DS game.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome. You should play it.
Okay, I love Kirby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, your turn, Dan.
Very serious. Okay. I think my next favorite is probably Diablo 2. Like one of the first games that I ever owned on PC. And would eventually lead me to get back into the horrible dying genre of roguelikes. But I know Casey does not like Diablo 2.
I never said that. I don't like the roguelike genre, but I like Diablo 2.
Really?
Yeah.
I
I said
specifically remember you hate saying you hate
no.
Diablo
I said I
2.
can't run Diablo 2 because it never works on my computers, and then I gave you the disc because I was just gonna buy it digitally later.
I thought you.
I don't dislike Diablo 2. I like it a lot.
Huh. I thought you hated Diablo 2.
No.
I have like a very specific memory of like me and Luke like hearing you say I hate Diablo 2 and like having our minds blown by that.
I don't remember that. I really like Diablo 2.
Okay, whatever. Right. Yeah, I love Diablo 2. I think it's great. I'm glad to find out that you actually enjoy it.
We weren't going to be friends after we graduated, if not. Yeah, I guess I'll redeem myself. But yeah, I really love it. I've only managed to play the first two acts because, like I said, it just like doesn't really perform on any of the computers I had. I guess it was compatibility or mode or something or other. Because originally my computer probably just sucked, but I have a good computer now and it still didn't run. And now I don't have a disk drive, so so yeah, I do plan to like just buy it digitally or something later.
They're probably Blizzard's probably doing some sort of remaster with Diablo 2.
Yeah, I've heard about that because they just remade Diablo 1 and 3, didn't they? Or they were going to?
They're talking about it. I'm still not exactly sure what's up with that.
Basically, what happened was, hello, Jacob King, Blizzard enthusiast. One of the devs said on a forum, he said something along the lines of, "We have managed to get our old teams together to work on titles such as Warcraft 3, Diablo 2, and StarCraft 1," and that was it. That was like the entire post.
But that is pretty telling.
And like Blizzard doesn't do that like cryptic thing that who's the guy that makes Resident Evil? The thing that guy does all the time where like you just get no hints whatsoever. Like he released a trailer for his new game. Have you seen it? It's like
Wait,
who is it? Oh.
who are you talking about? What is he making?
Are you talking about the director, Paul Anderson?
No, not a Resident Evil.
Are you
Then.
talking about
not the
Kojima?
movie.
That's the film director.
Yes.
No.
I love.
I just typed in Resident Evil
What's
director.
What's that one game that came out in a demo that was supposed to have
PT?
PT? Yeah. Who was the one who was supposed to make that?
Hideo Kojima.
Hideo Kojima. Okay, I don't play any of those games, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But Hideo Kojima released a trailer for a game recently.
Oh yeah, Death Stranding.
And literally no one knows what's going on in that trailer
Yeah, it's
whatsoever.
so
That's pretty far divorced from Resident Evil, though.
Yeah. But basically Blizzard has never done anything like that before. The closest thing they've ever done was the Overwatch Sombra reveal, which was like, oh man, we're hacking into Sombra's database or something like that, and that wasn't even Blizzard. That was Overwatch's dev team because Overwatch is a part of Blizzard, but they do handle things way differently than Blizzard does.
Yeah.
And some things I'm impressed with, some things I'm not, but that's a topic for another day.
That's how it goes.
But it was just really cryptic of them to make that post and just not, because like that was like almost last year when they made that post. So like we still haven't gotten anything off of it, and it's really poor timing because somebody actually remade some of the Warcraft 3 levels and graphics in StarCraft 2 and made an HD remake of Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2 arcade mode.
Yeah.
Which is accessible to free StarCraft players.
Yes.
So you essentially just play free remade Warcraft 3.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I will honestly like. I would probably buy a Diablo 2 remaster. I love.
Oh
I
yeah,
love Diablo
I would
2.
too, because Diablo 2,
It's one of my favorite games.
it's just ugly to look at is all.
I actually really like the sort of like weird gothic grungy look that it has.
No, I like that look. I just
It's dated.
It's
It's-
yeah,
it
I mean, it's
didn't-
definitely dated.
yeah, that like I like the designs for sure.
Oh yeah,
I would very much like an updated Diablo 2.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I just think if it were in 3D modeling in like the form of or in the same fashion of Diablo 3, I think it would look a lot better. But like not Diablo 3's level design whatsoever.
Yeah,
Keep
yeah.
it Diablo 2, please.
Yeah, like keep Diablo 2's like aesthetic.
Yeah.
and probably just like make the like.
Run it in the
I guess-
same engine. That's
yeah,
it.
Yeah. Change the lighting, change the and make new models and everything. I mean, it's still gonna be like a lot of work to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you just have to make a new game that just is Diablo 2.
Yeah, but they're not working on anything right now, so
Hey.
they're pretty freed up.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's Diablo 2. Riva?
My next favorite thing is actually 3 games, but it's the original Phoenix Wright trilogy.
I was going to
Oh,
say that
okay.
you can't just like, oh, so the next ones are my 19 other games I
No,
wasn't
no,
going to have
no.
time to mention.
No. Well, the original Phoenix Wright trilogy is just very, very solid. And I don't necessarily like a lot of the stuff that they've done afterward, but like no Phoenix Wright fan really does. Just because they tried to bring Apollo in and all that sort of stuff in the 4th
Right,
game,
right.
but then they also brought Phoenix back. But it's like, please let this man rest.
This poor homeless man.
Yeah, but the original Phoenix Wright trilogy was one of the first games that I ran into where characters from the first game were reintroduced in the second and third, but in ways that made sense. Like it all takes place in kind of the same area, so it would make sense that these characters showed up again.
Get in legal trouble all the time.
Yeah, that like
Somebody accused me of murder again.
well, it's not even necessarily that. It's like, oh, this person's a photographer.
Yeah.
In like the first game, so she also is like happens to be at another or like near another crime scene
That's cool.
in the second, where she's like taking pictures again, and it was just like it made a lot of sense for them to continue carrying that sort of stuff on, and like the 3 games keep bringing up the same kind of like plot points, and by the end of the 3rd it really wraps up very, very well, which is why I just like to pretend that the other Phoenix Wright games take place in some like horrible alternate universe.
Yeah, like San Francisco.
Yeah, Eat Your Hamburgers, Apollo is one of like my favorite comics ever, where they really
Are you talking
fuck-
about the Katie Teedridge one?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because in the first Phoenix Wright game, it's not super overtly like Japanese. There's a couple things here or there, but they got away with moving it to America, Los Angeles, and then it got a lot more Japanese a lot faster, especially like in the second with a lot of the stuff that goes on with the Fae family and all the magic-y, spiritual stuff. It's very, very much like entrenched in Japanese folklore. So I'm like trying to come up with excuses as to why all that's happening in like Los Angeles is really, really good, which is why you have that really good awkward zombie comic where like they're sitting and Phoenix is like wearing traditional like Japanese attire and eating sushi, but he's telling Apollo Justice, "Eat your hamburgers, Apollo."
Yeah.
Just because like Nintendo localization, real good for Wind Waker, real bad for everything else.
Uh-huh.
But
Well, was that Nintendo's localization? Because that game's made by Capcom, isn't it?
it's made by Capcom,
that's
but it was. I know it's very heavily with Nintendo.
But
so-
it is strictly on Nintendo platforms.
Yes. And like I consider Phoenix a Nintendo character as much as I do a Capcom character. Just because it is pretty much specifically for Game Boy Advance and then when it came over to America for the DS.
Mhm.
But no, the first 3 games are really awesome. And speaking of Freshie, It makes him real mad every time I talk about how gay Phoenix Wright is, because he is so gay for Miles Edgeworth. Yeah, no, but it's a really good series. It's got really good storytelling, and like the humor makes a lot of sense. Like Phoenix Wright as a straight man makes a lot of sense, but also like the goofy stuff that his friends say doesn't seem weird or out of character, because like the characters know when to handle serious situations seriously, and they know when to joke around, which is something that a lot of games with like goofy side characters don't necessarily know how to handle.
It's really interesting that it's it really has this dichotomy of being like a goofy game, but it's also a courtroom drama.
It's also
Yeah.
murder. None of the cases like don't involve murder. They all like somebody is dead in some way or another.
Yeah, but it'll be like my such and such family member died, and you're interviewing someone named April May.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Red White,
or like you're interviewing, you have to do cross-examination on a parrot.
Yeah.
Which is like one of my favorite moments ever is I want to cross-examine the witness's parrot. But yeah, no, Phoenix Wright is really good. And the first 3 games kind of like Nintendo released them all on the eShop as one package, and it works super, super well just because they're meant to be played back to back. And it's really great that we've now entered the Phoenix Wright timeline. Like, Phoenix, I think, is only a year or 2 older than I am. Like, when you look at the game, like, he's, like, 21 or 22 in the first game, which happens in 2016. So, yeah it's
So
good.
I'm Phoenix Wright.
Yeah, I guess. With less pointy hair.
Casey, your final game?
So, appropriately for my final game is Final Fantasy IX, which I'm just going to stare at Dan because I'm never going to let it go.
Hey, I didn't do it.
We told that story already, didn't we? Where you
I don't
named
think so.
Dagger Dick Butt.
I didn't. It did.
Yeah, but it was under your supervision.
I allowed this to
I went to the bathroom for 3 minutes and you named Garnet Dick Butt.
I need a secret name. Tell me, what do you call this item? A dagger? Then I'll be...
Dick butt.
Say
No.
it, Dan. It's your responsibility.
I didn't do this. This is not my fault.
Okay, so anyway, Final Fantasy IX is actually starting to get a lot more credit. It was released in 2000, which seems to be the story with all the games I like.
Yeah.
It kind of flew under the radar because the PS2 was actually had already come out, I think, or was like shortly going to, and Final Fantasy X was on the horizon, which is like as far as like hardware and such is much more interesting and well developed in this game. But as far as charm and as far as like actual game mechanics and whatnot, I think Final Fantasy IX is the best in the series.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it slips under a lot of people's radars because it has to compare to 7 and 8, which were, 7's the most popular, and 8 was like really riding its coattails in popularity.
Yeah.
It went for the whole like pseudo-future design, people have like guns and swords, and there's magic and cars and shit. And then it was closely followed by Final Fantasy X, which was the first one that had voice acting. It was the first one that had like full motion video, or the first one that had good full motion video cutscenes.
Yeah.
So it came out in an unfortunate time as far as like being like a illustrious game, but I think its charm is like far and away superior to all the other games. It's very much a like Shakespearean drama. There's a character named Puck.
Yeah.
There's you play as Zidane, who is a part of a theater troupe, as you like go and rescue a princess from her abusive mother, and then you team up with this ragtag group of people to go on like crazy quests, and you have a character named Steiner who's you actually name his last name. So I told a story the other day about Benny, who so his name is Adalbert Steiner, and you changed the name Steiner, and he saw that his name was Adalbert, so he named him Adalbert. So his name in game was Adalbert. But yeah, it's like really well balanced. They're like character like link attacks. Like if you have Vivi the Black Mage and Steiner together, you can do like spell sword moves.
Which are really cool.
You have Amaranth, who is both a monk and a ninja class. You have Freya, who's my favorite like video game character of all time. That's the one I have on a T-shirt. who's a rat lady who is like chasing after her long lost love who forgot her because like he didn't save his Tinder password or something.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just a really charming game, and it has one of my favorite sequences, and probably actually my favorite sequence. And I still want you to play it, so I'm not going to give too much of it away. But it's in the very end, and like Zidane has this big like revelation, and he's kicking himself, and like as you walk through this area, he's like slumping and dragging himself. And like all of his friends are like gone somewhere else, and you get into a battle that he can't win, and like Vivi and Steiner show up and they like fight off the monster for him, and he pushes them away and keeps going, and then he gets to another one and Freya and Amaranth come and help him out, and you keep going through all these sequences of like his friends and your party members like cheering him up and like bringing him back up to speed, and then you like go and fight the final boss, and it's super cathartic and awesome.
That's cool.
And it's one of the few RPGs I've played from like the PS1 and past era where the animations are actually reflective of what's happening in the game.
Yeah.
You can tell me through text and you can show me in a cutscene, but to actually like walk Zidane slowly down the cavern, like dragging his leg and like all depressed and stuff, it was like a really heavy moment, and the music really played into it. The composition in this game is top notch. It's the best Final Fantasy soundtrack, and I'll defend that to my death.
Nice.
It is if you are a fan of RPGs and you've already played Chrono Trigger, play Final Fantasy IX next.
Yeah.
So, Jake, your last game?
All right, my last game, I would say is probably my favorite game, is Warcraft 3, but actually Mega Man 4. Kind of sad that I never even put a Blizzard game on my list. I mean, Warcraft 3 was on there, but I don't know. I thought about Mega Man 4, and I was like, no, that's probably my favorite game of all time. Mega Man 4 was the first video game I ever saw beaten. And by that, I mean, I had an NES. That was the first console I ever had, was an NES. And it was my father's, and it was really broken down. In fact, it took me 10 years to realize that the NESs had covers, because ours didn't have a cover. So I literally thought they just didn't have them, until one of my friends was like, oh, hey, check my NES. I was like, why is your NES like sealed shut? Like, who put that over there? And he's like, oh, it just like popped up. I was like, what? Like, so
Why is your NES still in its box?
my cousins, my dad's brother, so my uncle, he had an NES also, his own NES, and they played. My dad and my uncle were two very different kinds of like video game players. My dad really liked action games, and my uncle really liked RPGs. And my uncle had like he spent all of his time on the NES playing the original Legend of Zelda, and he had this huge grid paper where he'd actually mapped out the entire overworld by like individual grid pieces.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
10 years before I was born.
And he still has that map somewhere.
Will he sell it to me?
I don't know. He might. He doesn't really care about it anymore as much as my dad does. But they had Mega Man 4. They had bought it because they thought it looked really cool, because they're like, oh, robot kid, fighting other robots. And they couldn't get past like any of the first Robot Masters. So my dad picks it up, and my dad didn't know how to use a computer. He used it for like work, and that was it. He hadn't even connected yet that you could use it to like beat video games, and he thought that was cheating anyway. So he just kind of like play, and then we had just the cartridge, no manual or anything. We had no insight on how to play this balls to the walls hard game. Which, not hard if you play it enough.
Now, remind me though, is Mega Man 4 the one that introduces the power suit?
No.
Or is that's 5?
I believe that's 5.
Okay, so 4 is the hardest of the classic Mega Mans.
I'd say it's probably among the most unforgiving.
Because 1's not super hard, 2's not that hard.
1's frustrating because the level design's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2...
3's not that bad. 4 I seem to remember actually being really tough.
4 was... Okay, so 3 I beat within the first, 2 days of playing it. Mm-hmm. And that's really saying something, because I saw my dad beat all of Mega Man 4 at least every day of my life for a month. Because my dad... We had Super Mario Bros. 3... and we had Mega Man 4. And my dad knows those games. He actually knows a lot of classic NES games. He knows the RPG Dragon Warrior like the back of his hand. He actually, we emulated it a couple years ago, and he played through the entire game, and he said, I haven't played this game in 15 years. And he knew where every single secret... He went up to this one specific grid and pressed A, and he said, oh, yeah, this like Sir Arthur's armor is here.
Yeah. You go down to the swamp, and there's like one coordinate, and that's where like
and then he's like, oh, yeah, dragon's going to attack me here. He presses A, dragon attacks him, he gets the armor. I'm like, how did you remember that?
because I played that game recently, and I was like, how the fuck do you find this thing? And yeah, like you just press it in the middle of the swamp, and you find the Eldrick's armor.
My dad is like, it's still in my mind one of the most legendary like video game players I've ever seen, because like he's just got this perfect memory. And he played through Mega Man 4, and it took him like a good like 3 weeks to finally beat it. But he learned all the boss weaknesses. He learned all the secrets of the game. He found every single power-up. He found every single way to beat the boss, every gimmick. And I remember as a kid, I couldn't even get past, who's that? Oh, Toadman, who's the easiest boss in the game. He's the easiest boss in Mega Man. Because Toadman, his programming is that he's supposed to jump in front of you. Or he's supposed to jump... Yeah, he's supposed to jump on top of you, and then he does this rain ability, which shoots rain down. It does like 1/3 of your health. So it does a lot of damage. If Toadman gets shot, he, like one pellet, he drops everything and jumps to you again. So what you do is you shoot him, run to where he was when he jumps up in the air, and then shoot him, and then run to where he was, and he jumps over you again. And he can't do the rain thing. His only attack... as long as you're shooting him. So he's actually... It took me, like, forever to finally beat him, because I just didn't have the hand-eye coordination as a kid. Yeah. So once I beat Toadman, it was such a crowning achievement. And then it was like, oh my god, there's 7 more of these guys. So I went through, and I, like, found all the weaknesses. I got through and the levels are the hard parts in Mega Man. The Robot Masters are just, like, the final gate. Like... the levels are definitely the most frustrating part, because like the Robot Masters, they don't have spikes all over their rooms, unless you're playing Mega Man 9, in which one of them does have spikes all over his room, and that's obnoxious. But it's not the hardest part, because you just find the weakness and beat them. But there's like pits that you have to be like a certain pixel height at to like jump across, and there's like spikes
enemies that'll pop out just to knock you in.
Yeah, enemies that'll like pop out and they'll knock you into spikes, or enemies that'll grab you on the head and drag you across the stage into spikes, and all this crazy like stuff that you have to be super careful about and like memorize. It's I don't want to really like compare it too harshly to Dark Souls, but like it's sort of in the way where like if you play through the game super carefully, you can avoid all those things. Like if you go into Mega Man knowing, like, because like I played Mega Man 4, and I attribute my ability to play Mega Man 3 so well, and like all the other Mega Mans, to because I played and beat Mega Man 4, so I know all the tricks. So like whenever there's a pit in every Mega Man game you ever see me play Mega Man, I'm gonna walk up to it and I'm gonna walk as close as possible, and if I don't see an enemy pop up, then I'm jumping over it, because that's just how you do it.
Yeah.
But what was really cool about this game is that this was the first game where Dr. Wily wasn't the boss. It was a guy named Dr. Kozak, which is supposed to be, I think his theme was supposed to be like Russian or something.
Yeah.
And the big like plot twist was you beat Dr. Kozak in his level, and normally you get to the center like character select, and you fight Dr. Wily, and it's like, oh wow, like you know, I get to fight the final boss and beat the game. You get to the final boss, and it's just as hard as getting to Wily, but it's Kozak, and you know, you beat Kozak, and then he goes like stop, and it shows text at the bottom, and this is the first time it's ever shown text while playing the game in a Mega Man game. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is the first Mega Man game, period, to include text. Besides, you know, the introductions.
Yeah, because 2 had the scrolling Star Wars.
Yeah. Because like every Mega Man game, I'm pretty sure in the NES era has like the beginning like music, and then it shows like the city.
In the year 20XX.
In the year 20XX, yeah. Except one of them says 2000X, I'm pretty sure.
Which means Mega Man already happened.
Yeah, it's done. We did it. Like, but he starts talking to you, and it's like, I was just like, as a kid, I was like, oh my god, like this has never happened in a video game.
What do you want from me?
And he says like, Dr. Wily took my daughter. I'm sorry I had to fight you. And then Proto Man comes down, and this is the Shadow the Hedgehog effect coming in as a kid. Proto Man comes down, and he's got the daughter, and he's like, you're slacking, Mega Man, or something like that. He's like, I saved the daughter. Now you got to go stop that fiend Wily. And I'm like, who are you? Like I want to play as that guy, and we didn't get to play as him until like, you know, I think 5 games later, and like 20 years in the future or something like crazy like that.
Pretty much like just appearing mysteriously like all throughout Mega Man.
Yeah, and
so it's really cool.
Yeah, and there's a lot of parts in the game where he just actually no, that's actually the only part in the game where he shows up in Mega Man 4. Mega Man 3 is the game where you fight him a lot.
Oh.
Because he appears because he's supposed to be a bad guy in 3.
But
Yeah.
you say because you haven't played 3 yet at this point in your life.
Yeah. So like seeing him first in 4 was like, who's that?
this?
Who is that? Because like believe it or not, the games have a chronology to them.
Yeah.
Like they have a story, and it's actually a story with not a lot of plot holes. Surprisingly, it's a very simple story.
Yeah.
But like it actually lines up really well with the X series too, and there's a lot of gap in between Mega Man and X. And I really like that, though, because it's the same reason why people say, like, oh, Star Wars 1 through 3 should have happened because it wasn't necessary. Like, why did we need to explain Darth Vader's origin? Like, just let Darth Vader be, like, this, like, mysterious character. And that's why I think that there's a good thing to have a mystery between those games. But basically, Mega Man 4, I think is really cool because I love the Robot Master's designs. My favorite Robot Master, period, in any Mega Man game is Pharaoh Man. I love Pharaoh Man for many reasons.
Pharaoh Man.
Yes, I love Pharaoh Man. And there's many reasons, and it's because in the Mega Man anime, there's actually a scene where, so in the anime, he didn't need to beat the Robot Master to get their power. He literally put his hand on them and said, "Now I've got your power," and then they'd be like, "No, now you've got my weapon." Pharaoh Man, he's walking next to a well, and Mega Man jumps out like a surprise attack, puts his hand on his arm, and goes like, "Now I've got your power," and Pharaoh Man just punches him in the face and just beats him up right there. It's really good. And the way to beat him in Mega Man 4, because of how overpowered of a boss he is, you use the time stop ability and shoot him over and over again. So you go like, stop right there, and then you kill him. Because he just jumps around too fast.
Yeah.
He's about as quick as like Quickman from 2. So I mean, and then that's how you beat Quickman also. But Pharaoh Man's a Pharaoh. I don't know what about speed Pharaohs have, but I don't know why he's like just this speed demon going all around, jumping all over the place, shooting energy balls, and he's also got the best weapon in the game too. He's like the metal blades is basically his weapon. He can charge it up into like a spirit bomb kind of thing, which is also really cool. It had the most diverse weapons of any Mega Man game, that's for sure.
Okay, so let's round this off and just go through the rest of your games. If something's noteworthy, if like one of us also has it on our list, then we'll draw attention to it. But we're gonna zip through this really quick because we do still have some announcements to make with this being our final episode of the season. So go ahead, Dan.
Let's see. I also mentioned Stalker Call of Pripyat, Hitman Blood Money, Resident Evil 4,
Same.
The Beginner's Guide, Stanley Parable, Mega Man X, Metroid Fusion, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and Wario Land 4.
Good.
For me, it's Style Savvy, Fashion Forward. Which is really, really good. I love Style Savvy. But that was my favorite out of the series. Kingdom Hearts 2, Dragon Age Inquisition. Please, Dan, please play Dragon Age. I need somebody else to talk to. Stardew Valley, then Cooking Mama, Splatoon, and Grand Theft Auto 5.
Okay. I had Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, Child of Light, Advanced Wars Dual Strike, East the Oath and Felghana.
Yeah, Oath and Felghana is so good.
Oath and Felghana's the shit. Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. Also Resident Evil 4. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Also Mega Man X. Kirby's Adventure. Final Fantasy Tactics. Dragon Ball Z Boo's Fury. Super Metroid Symphony of the Night. Metal Gear Solid 3. Fire Emblem Seisen no Keifu. And Live a Live.
Final Fantasy Tactics, awesome.
Yeah, Tactics is the shit.
Yeah.
I'd also say Mega Man X.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's probably the best in the entire Mega Man series, hands down.
Did I ever tell you about that rock concert I went to where Power Glove just played the Mega Man X soundtrack?
You did not tell me about that.
Oh, it was badass. I'll lend you that CD later.
The other ones are probably Warcraft 3. Sonic Generations is also a really good game to me.
Rooftop Run's the best Sonic level.
Oh my god. And it was good on Unleashed too. It's just that the other parts of Unleashed ruined it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, half of Unleashed is probably among my favorite games.
Yeah.
Because, like, Unleashed was good, except when you turned into a werehog.
Yep.
Oh my god, just stop reading Twilight. He doesn't have to be a werewolf. I had some other games, but I didn't write them down.
Were they all the Blizzard games?
No, actually, I mean, like, I don't like putting World of Warcraft on any of my, like, top game lists because it's just, it changes too much.
Mhm.
Like, when I played Mists of Pandaria, I had it, like, top 10. But when Wars of Draenor came out, I didn't even touch the game because I hated it so much. But now that Legion's out, I put it on the top 10 again. So I just don't put it on there because then someone will be like, yeah, you love World of Warcraft. I was like,
Well,
no,
I
not
did.
right. Yeah, not right now. They kind of ruined it. Like, Blizzard has those little ups and downs sometimes.
Okay, cool.
Oh, and I forgot to mention Dota 2.
Yeah, of course, Dan.
Yeah, I love Dota.
Fine. RuneScape.
Okay,
fine.
Also RuneScape for me.
Oh, yeah. It's actually,
Okay, what about Club Penguin? That's my favorite MMO.
yeah, Gaia Online. Come on.
It's a meme, but I got banned from Club Penguin because I spawned in. I said, "Where the hood at?" And
I've
banned
had the
instantly.
same Club Penguin account for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that I think
What
about it,
the-
Dark Souls would also be on my list. The original,
Yep.
like Dark Souls 1,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I could have had 50 more.
Yeah. There's a million other games I would have also liked to have mentioned,
Mhm.
but I think that I had a pretty good list there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to talk about this terribly extensively because we did talk about it on the previous episode.
Yeah.
But just to summarize, this is the final episode of this season. We will be coming back. I put the date on the Facebook, but I don't remember what it was.
January
19th.
January
I
19th.
think, yeah.
Yeah.
We come back on the 8th. Not us, but school begins again because we're all college students here.
Yeah. It begins the first week of school. I will rectify if I had the date wrong later.
12th.
12th. Is that the Thursday?
Yeah. 12th is the
Okay.
Thursday.
12th will be our first episode when we come back.
But we also won't be doing them live anymore.
Yes, we won't be doing them live. We're going to be doing our episodes in advance, which means, fewer interruptions, slightly higher production quality, things like that.
Yeah.
We also probably won't be tired.
Uh-huh.
So it will upload on the 12th, though.
Yeah.
We'll do it so much time in advance. They will be available on iTunes and SoundCloud, which means by
Yes.
proxy they will be available on other on other podcast services like Podcast Addict and stuff like that. So even if you are using an Android phone and don't have access to iTunes, you can still get them through the same source,
Yeah.
basically speaking. Our first topic when we come back, do you remember, Dan? Do
No, actually, I don't remember.
you remember, Eva?
Don't look at me.
Okay.
I don't
Flash
remember.
games.
Oh,
that's
okay.
pretty
Yeah.
Whew, I got a lot of those.
Oh, do you want to be on that episode?
Yeah, sure. I spent like 90% of my life on Newgrounds, so.
Perfect.
Same here.
Okay, cool. So everyone's homework is to go and play some Flash games over the next month.
Ooh.
I don't even need to play them. I got them all in the bank.
Yeah, and we'll stay in touch with each other. We'll share some Flash games. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about the history and then just about our favorites. It's gonna be a very easygoing episode as we get back into the groove of things once we come back. Although we could record that episode tomorrow for all I know, because we're doing them in advance.
Yeah.
I will tell you right now, in terms of Flash games, right now, everyone in this room should go home and play Castle Crashers versus the Beard.
It's so good.
It's so good. You fight
Tom
Fulp's beard in a Flash game with the actual controls of Castle Crashers.
That sounds
It's
awesome.
great, and it has a level up system where you your character evolves over time and stuff. The more you fight him,
Yeah,
That sounds
you-
awesome.
it's also
Castle
difficult.
Crashers.
It's
Yeah,
not
it's
easy.
very hard.
Yeah, so you're not gonna just blow through it like most Flash games.
So, we will not be broadcasting on Twitch anymore. We may be streaming. We will have a website. It'll be respawnloungeofficial.wordpress.com, I believe was the URL I decided on.
I think so.
Um,
That sounds right.
and we don't have a schedule ironed out for that yet, but at the very least, we'll be uploading some kind of written piece at least once a week.
Yeah.
I believe Tuesday was the day I
Yeah.
proposed. So Tuesday for sure. Other days maybe we'll see.
We'll also be occasionally streaming video games.
Yeah, and that at the moment is going to be totally up to our whimsy.
Yeah.
Until we see what our schedule is going to be like next semester. I don't want to promise anything just yet. We will not be uploading to YouTube anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to make a YouTube announcement video regarding that. We may just take the channel down. Because
No, we can leave the channel up.
But I mean, it looks empty, and that's going to mislead people into thinking that we don't, have more content elsewhere.
Yeah.
So we either we're going to make a video where we explain where to find us now, or well, honestly, if they're watching those episodes anyway and they get to the end, then they'll find out because they hear me saying this now.
Yeah.
So maybe we will just leave them. So yeah, but future episodes will not be on YouTube, but all 14 plus the extra episodes that we have done will be available on SoundCloud and iTunes.
Yeah, we're gonna just re-upload all of those.
Yep. So we will be much easier to find. You can listen to us in the car. You don't have to keep YouTube open anymore. We're going to be way more accessible. We're going to have a lot more content. And like I said before, Riva is going to become a permanent host. Guests are going to become less frequent because we're not trying to, have that be a staple. We don't want to require that to have a productive episode anymore.
Yeah.
We are planning to have 16 episodes in the next season.
Yep.
That's our goal. And then Dan and I graduate, and we go our separate ways forever.
I'll never see you again.
No. Dan probably is going to move back up here because
Yeah.
he currently lives far away. But he's probably going to move up here to live with me and get married. And we will, take another short break, and then we will continue again.
Yes.
There will be a spat where, because I'm going to be moving out as well. Dan's going to be moving. We're going to be going through a graduation process, grad school, things like that.
Another
Yeah.
year.
Yeah,
Well,
Riva's still going to be
probably-
around whether you like it or not.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the plan. I want to keep this short and sweet. So any other closing statements?
I guess art and stuff is all going to be updated as well.
That's right. We did update the Twitter and Facebook cover photo,
Yes.
and we're working on the YouTube one, but YouTube's funky. But it doesn't matter anymore, so whatever.
Yeah. all that sort of stuff, and then I think those were the big things.
I thought I had the sound on.
Jake's never invited back on again.
I just got out of class, so I was expecting the sound to be off. That's all I do is watch memes. Maybe I'll be here another 4 years.
Yeah, I think that was sort of the big thing. Well, and then also that this isn't a forever project. There is a very
We do know when
finite
we're going to
end.
end it, but I don't want to reveal it yet.
yes,
In case we, change our minds or something, or
Yeah.
extend it slightly or whatever.
Yeah.
but
We do have we have structured the remainder of the episodes for this podcast with an end in mind.
Yeah.
yes.
There still will most likely be Respawn Lounge extra episodes, probably more of them because we'll just have more time to do so.
yeah.
So we're going to be busting tail next semester. I hope more than 4 people start listening to us, but we'll see. We're doing our best.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier to make this also shareable with friends
Yeah.
and everything. So, we encourage all 4 of our current listeners to share this with everybody. But it will be a lot easier to share because we will be on iTunes. So then
Yep.
you get to hear the really great, please leave a review after every
Yeah.
episode, which
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Which will probably just be me saying blah review and then closing it because I hate that.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you everyone who has been listening this season, anyone who's tuned in briefly, anyone who's tuning in the future. I want to say it helps a lot, but it doesn't because this is just a project of love. But I do appreciate it. We're not making money or anything like that, but it does indicate to us that our this work is going to something,
Yeah.
and that's very useful, and that means a lot. So thank you everybody who listened, or will listen. It means a whole bunch to us all. Anything else?
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year. And if anyone finds out where to hood at, please send me an email at respawnloungeofficial@gmail.com. Follow us on our social media to keep up with us, and we will see you at the start of the next season.
Goodbye.
So long.